In the very first part of this module 4, we are going to introduce you with DAX. So let's get started over here. Very first, what is DAX? Well, ideally DAX is a formula-based language which is very similar to the formulas that we used in Microsoft Excel. DAX stands for Data Analysis Expression. DAX is akin to a supercharged version of Excel formulas, but specifically designed for handling and analyzing large sets of data. DAX is going to allow you to create new information and insights from your existing data, which means you can create calculations on the top of your data. For example, if you want to calculate the total sales, or you want to calculate sales year over year, or maybe you would like to calculate the previous month's sales, etc. All those you can do with the help of DAX in Microsoft Power BI. Now question arises, what is the importance of DAX? Well, I have already given you a hint what we are going to use it for, but you have to understand that it is more powerful than Excel. You can use it according to your custom needs, and also you can do business intelligence work with it. With that, you can basically modify the filter context, row context, and you can see whether you want to create a calculated column or you just want to create a measure, which I'm going to explain you what are these. Rest information you can see on your screen, and please do read it. You will get all the study materials in the resource material section, so please don't forget to check that out. Now let's talk about the syntax. As I mentioned, DAX is a formula based language, so you are going to write something like formula, which I already shown you when I was introducing you with the model view. So you can see on your screen, you would get something like this, the formula bar, where you are going to write your DAX. The very first, which is part A, is going to be name of your measure. So this is very important whenever you are writing a measure or a calculation. Over here, you first give the name, then this B, which is going to be your equal sign, which means that from where your actual formula or the DAX function is going to start. The very first, we are going to write sum. Sum is a DAX function which is used to calculate the totals, or in general the sum or summation. Then we have to write our column name from that particular table name. And always you have to encapsulate your function within the parentheses, otherwise it's not going to work. So always please pay attention to the details. That means pay attention the syntax of your DAX function. Every DAX function can have their own syntax, but this is in general. First, name, equal sign. From here it's going to start your main function name. Then you have to write the parentheses. Inside parentheses you have to write your expression. Over here we are just writing one column, that is sales amount, and we are going to do the sum of it. So that's how we are going to get our total sales amount as well. Now, calculated column versus measure. This is a very important topic where you should pay your attention. Calculated columns, what are they? Calculated columns are like regular columns in your data table, but they contain values calculated from other columns. For example, let's suppose you have two columns in your data set. One is the quantity, another is the unit price. And if you want to get the total price of one particular product, then you have to multiply the unit price from the quantity. And that's how you are using a third column over there, which is going to say the total price, where you are applying this calculation. Multiply these two columns. And that's what is the calculated column. While measure is going to return you a single value. So measures are calculations performed on data that results in single value. They are dynamic and update based on the context of your report, whether you are applying a filter context or a row context, which you would get to know later on in this video. Ideally, this tutorial is not for a DAX tutorial, but I would like you to empower you that you understand what is the difference between a measure and a calculated column. The another important part that you should understand the difference between these two is that measure calculates on the fly. That means over the CPU. It doesn't need to refresh the data set. However, calculated column only calculates once you are going to refresh your data set. Because of that, it's going to be a more power consuming. That means it's not a performance oriented. So try to avoid calculated columns as much as you can do and focus on the measure itself. If you have a requirement to create a calculated column, please create in the data source or your database site. Now, as I mentioned, there are two kinds of context, row context and filter context. Row context is pretty easy to understand. You have the data. For example, you have one column where you are mentioning the product categories, and then in front of that you want to mention the sales. So you can calculate the total sales like we just calculated on that one, and as soon as you are going to drag and drop that field over there, it's going to bifurcate or divide according to these categories. So this is known as row context. However, filter context is about the filters applied on your data. You may want to apply external filter on the data, For example, you only want to calculate the total sum using a one particular category or one particular color of the code, one particular code color. So you can apply the external filter over there, and then you can put over there in the row context. I'm also going to show you that how you can do that. But in order to change the filter context, or in order to apply the filter context, we use the DAX function, that is calculate. Calculate is nothing, but it's going to modify your filter context. So please pay attention when we are going to write the DAX codes. In the next module, I'm gonna tell you what are the commonly used DAX functions. So please stay tuned till the next module. And if you have any questions or concerns, please write them out in the Q&A section and we will get back to you.